Breaking news. Syrian soldiers have been attacked by US airstrikes, a fact that has allowed ISIS to advance in the Syrian city of Deir ez-Zor. 72 soldiers were killed and 100 injured when a Syrian army base was struck in Thurdra mountain in Deir ez-Zor, where they were conducting battles against ISIS. This is a huge escalation, which adds further proof that the US State Department has been backing the terrorists all along. There are many indications that this attack was not an accident. The fact that a base was struck, not soldiers out in the open. The fact that there is a large number of casualties. The fact that there are reports the US Air Force used an A-10 helicopter as well as F-16s, which requires being close to the ground and knowing what your targets are. The fact that there were no US Special Forces or SDF forces in the area or any kind of rebels. Only ISIS and the Syrian army, leaving little room for error. Basically, the US purposely bombed Syrian soldiers so that ISIS can advance. There was also a simultaneous attack by the Israeli Air Force against the Syrian army, as the Syrian army was battling Al-Qaeda near the Golan Heights. And it is highly likely these attacks are coordinated with the US attack because they were within minutes of each other, both of which were designed to help the terrorists. A few days ago, the Syrian Air Force shot down an Israeli F-16 that was attempting to conduct the very same bombing. It is important to remember that these attacks, as well as the US's presence in Syria, is completely illegal under both US law and international law. In 2013, the US public and the US Senate voted against a war in Syria. Soldiers came out in protest. I will not go to war on the side of Al-Qaeda in a Syrian civil war. Just as I predicted, the US administration went to war anyway, using ISIS as an excuse. But they were slowly boiling frogs and are now attacking the Syrian army and defending ISIS. Except now, no one really knows what's going on. The US's entire presence in Syria is also a violation of international law and the sovereignty of a UN member state. This comes 5 days into the US-Russia negotiated ceasefire. One of the requests made by the US administration in the ceasefire agreement is that the Syrian Air Force would be grounded in North Syria. Was the purpose of this so that they could bombard defenseless Syrian army positions? This is the same ceasefire that was rejected by the so-called moderate Syrian rebels, who instead chose to openly join up in a new formed group with Al-Qaeda. If you recall, the Syrian government agreed to give up their chemical weapons with assurances from Russia that they would act as the deterrent, preventing a US or Israeli attack. The fact that this attack happened during negotiations with Russia seems to be the US's way of attempting to humiliate Russia. But how will Russia react?